welcome to the C10 podcast, where I tell the story of Seattle area business owners, entrepreneurs, and community personalities. This week's guest is Chris Siegfried, a lender with HomeStreet Bank. I've actually become friends with him through my real estate business. He has become my top lender. He has a pretty interesting and unique story, but I'll let him tell it in his own words. Enjoy this week's interview. So Chris, can you just kind of tell me who you are and what you do?
Sure.
A little background.
Yeah. Thanks, Christian, for having me. A little bit of background on myself, what I do. So I'm a loan officer at HomeStreet Bank, and I've been in the business now for about 4 years on an everyday basis. You know, I'm working with people like you, real estate agents, out showing homes, helping clients, helping people buy homes, and I'm on the financing side. So we're going through different programs and different options that are going to fit or cater to a specific person's needs.
As a lender, do you tend to be just residential, or also do refis and that sort of thing, or is there kind of a specialty as far as lenders go?
Yeah, so from lending perspective, it's residential. I do residential lending. There are the other options, but I specifically focus on residential and primarily purchase business. But there are the opportunities, depending on circumstance or rate, goals, there are the opportunities where people can refinance. So typically what we do here, or what I do, is we'll track someone, once they close on their purchase, we'll keep them in the pipeline and make sure we're checking in with them to see how things are going, making sure everything's going well. And then if the opportunity does come up where, they can save money in a refinance, if it makes sense for them, wherever they're at in their life at that time, then we'll pursue that avenue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to get into lending? What kind of led up to that?
Well, it was unconventional. My choice to get into lending was unconventional. I moved up to Seattle in 2012 to take the job. Prior to that, I was playing professional baseball for 4 years, graduated with a degree in economics and entrepreneurship, and my best friend, who's working with us now, or working at HomeStreet now, right down the way in the office, introduced me to a loan officer and said, I think you'd like this job. It's a good mix of working with numbers and finance and talking to people and getting out and, quote unquote, selling yourself. And those were all things that I was interested in when I was finished up with baseball and trying to figure out what my next career move was.
Sure.
So I jumped in and haven't regretted it or looked back since. And now it's just seeing how we can help as many people as possible, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, it's kind of funny how I actually came to know you, because I was selling, a house in West Seattle, and you are actually representing the client on the other side of things.
Right.
And I was so impressed with your communication, like how much you knew, just being on top of things. After we closed, I actually reached out to you and said, hey, let's get coffee.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of based on your personality and how competent you are, for lack of a better term.
Thanks.
That's essentially how we came to work together. It's been great. I did find out kind of some interesting background after we started working together. I don't know if you want to share a little bit of your interesting facts about your story.
Sure. Yeah. So after we started working together, we built that business relationship, and then we talked quite a bit on the phone, and you found out that I was a contestant on a reality TV show that I ended up winning, if you will, but ultimately marrying the girl. I was on the Bachelorette, really. And I think for 2 months I was on hiatus from work and trying to find love, and it worked. And
Sure.
And here I am now. It's been almost 3 years. It's 3 years in May of 2016 that we'll have been together. But yeah, I thought it was funny when you had called me. You're like, so I know something about you. I'm like, oh yeah, what's that? And I had this inclination that was the next thing you're going to say, because most people, whether it's a client or another agent or advisor that I'm working with, it doesn't get awkward, but it's like you have that tone, or someone will have that tone in their voice, and you can anticipate the next question.
Sure.
I don't usually come out and say that this is where or what I did.
Sure. Probably not a major marketing point in getting new clients.
I mean, if you figure it out, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. It's not something I sell myself on.
Sure.
people try to work with me because of that usually, but sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah.
You never know. Does that end up coming up much, when you're talking to clients? Or?
Right. So occasionally it will come up. It's not necessarily a younger client or an older client. It's a mix of everybody, really. The show is just so popular between all demographics that I'm surprised when, a 60-year-old, male and female or husband and wife come in and say, oh, by the way, it's like my granddaughter or my daughter. I'm like, okay, so we're going to have this conversation for a few minutes. Or even first-time home buyers, in their early 30s or late 20s will come in and say, I think I recognize you from somewhere. And then usually I'll play a game with them, like not really tell them, or, I've been living here for a while, or, something along those lines. And they're like, no, that's not where it is. And then they'll say it, and we'll talk about it. But yeah.
Go back to business as usual. Usually not too awkward, hopefully.
Yeah, no. Once I think just because of the nature of the business, I think there are a couple things that are important to keep in mind when you're buying a house. Like, you have to be comfortable with the person that you're working with, because it's one of the bigger decisions that you're going to be making in your life, buying a home. Right. But then there is the serious side of the conversation, that is the finances and making sure that you understand the numbers. So having both that good relationship, and even if it starts off on a topic that wasn't anticipated or planned, and then going into serious conversation, I think having all that is important. Sure.
What would you say is your favorite thing about what you do?
I think my favorite thing about what I do is after closing, the excitement that people have when they buy their house and it's all gone through. Walking through the process can be, it really depends on the person. It's either going to be a stressful process or it's going to be a calm, cool, collected process, right? On my end, our goal, and same with you, when we're working together, the goal really is to make sure everything is front loaded, right? Get all the information up front, make sure that answers are answered as best as possible, and then you're out shopping for a home, right? That process is exciting because you're looking at different houses, the client's interested in this, that, or the other, but once they close and they're excited to move in and get the house to be theirs and paying or whatever, that's where it's fulfilling for me.
I don't know if you know this, but why would you say most clients end up coming to you? I mean, how do you find new business? Why you versus someone else, I guess?
Right. I think one of the bigger things that I would like to say differentiates myself from other lenders is, communication and the relationship that I build with people. I think I do a really good job also with educating people and breaking down options, putting together an analysis, and really diving into numbers to make sure that the person buying the house is very comfortable knowing exactly what they're getting into. I think in this day and age, especially in this business, whether it's lending or real estate, communication is huge. Being available is also a big part of this whole job. So making it known right up front that whether it's texting or emailing or calling, I'll be there, and I think people like that, especially with homes, right? Buying a home is a big decision, and at the same time, it might happen really quick, especially in this market right now that we're seeing in Seattle Metro or Seattle proper. So.
And what sort of things do you do on a regular basis to grow or improve your business?
One of the big things that I'm doing is constantly, with the clients I do reach out to the clients and ask them to share their stories or share their experience with working with me, whether it's reviews or coffee talk with their friends. Because I am a referral-based business, it's even more important to do a good job and make sure that people are happy and satisfied. So reaching out to the past clients to make sure that top of mind for them, right? Maybe not top, but if they hear in a conversation and houses are brought up, that I'm that person that they're going to think of to say, oh, well, have you talked with Chris? Or from a referral partner perspective, I also work with multiple agents, and it's really just catering to all those different avenues or streams of referral partners, and making sure that they're all happy and comfortable with the way I do work. That's really ultimately going to be how I keep going and continue to work to be successful.
Well, if someone listening to this podcast wants to get a hold of you, has questions about what it would cost to refi with the interest rates being so low, or rent versus buy scenario, comparison, whatever, how would they get a hold of you? What's the best way to do that?
The best way to get a hold of me is either through email or phone or text. My email is chris.siegfried@homestreet.com. My cell phone is 503-804-5716, and that is something that you can text pretty much anytime. I mean, if I'm sleeping, I'm not answering, but or my office is 206-576-4772. And normally what we'll do is we'll kind of determine whether or not it's going to be a good process for you. Like, we'll have an upfront conversation before we meet in person, and then if the client is ready, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, to go forward to the next step, we'll meet and put together an analysis for them. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today, Chris.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right.
Talk
to you next time.
All right.
Well, that's it for this week's podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing Chris's story. Don't forget to subscribe to the C-Town podcast on iTunes and leave me a review. If you'd like to get a hold of me or be a guest on my podcast, you can reach me at christianharris@ctown.com, or you can find out more about me and what I do in my professional life in real estate at ctown.com, c-town.com. Until next week.
First take.